Hey guys, it's Kelly and welcome back to our channel. For today's video, I'm doing my birth story. I decided I really wanted to do this because every time I rewatch my birth vlog, which is a lot, by the way, if you didn't see it, I'll have it linked down below. Every time I rewatch it, I'm like, wow, there's a lot cut out of this story. And a lot of it is because my birth story happened a lot faster than I thought it was going to. Before I get started, I wanted to say that if you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed down below because I do a lot of motherhood content and I would love for you guys to join our little family. Before getting into my actual birth story, I have to talk about the pre-birth story. I had a great pregnancy in my eyes. I didn't have a lot of issues or anything. I had a lot of nausea in the first trimester, I guess the first 20 weeks. But overall, I loved my pregnancy. I hated it when I was pregnant, but I loved my pregnancy and I am so excited to be able to do it again one day. But whatever, I know I don't have like the normal experience. I mean, a lot of people don't love being pregnant. So I had a great pregnancy health-wise until 34 weeks. 34 weeks, I had my first appointment that was like going every week or whatever. Before it was like bi-weekly or once a month and whatever before that. So this was my first every week appointment. I had my 34-week appointment and I saw a doctor that I'd never seen before. I had only ever seen nurse practitioners before that and that was completely fine with me, but whatever. So I saw a doctor that I honestly didn't love, I'm not gonna lie. He was very abrupt to me and just kind of made me feel like I wasn't like, I don't know, I didn't know my body or whatever, but my blood pressure was severely elevated and he sent me straight to labor and delivery. At 34 weeks, I was freaking out because I don't want to have my baby right then. I was staring like the NICU in the eyes. I was staring all those things in the eyes and that was terrifying to me. So I was just staring that in the eyes and I'm like, I do not want to have my baby. I was freaking out. I had panic attacks, all of the things. And luckily my sister-in-law was able to come see me. Because of COVID, I'm not allowed to have visitors. I was allowed to have my husband for that thing because it was like, I might be having my baby. But he was 6 hours away. Let me say that first. He was 6 hours away. So I was terrified. But my sister-in-law is actually a labor and delivery nurse where I delivered. So she was able to come in and spend some time with me and help me kind of like calm down. Which I feel like I would have had Finnegan that day if she wasn't there. They told me that I had gestational hypertension, or I was diagnosed with gestational hypertension then, and there was no sign of preeclampsia, like there was no iron or whatever is in your urine. I don't know if it's iron, but whatever. There wasn't anything in my urine. Protein, I think. Protein? I feel like it's protein. Whatever. There wasn't anything in my urine, so I wasn't preeclamptic or anything like that. I just had severe gestational hypertension. I was in the hospital the whole entire night and they kept me overnight to screen me and whatever. I had a IV, I had my blood pressure cuff, and they had like those monitors on the baby so that way they made sure that the baby was completely okay. And I was diagnosed with gestational hypertension that day and I was put on 200 milligrams of labetalol twice a day, which now learning, that's a lot. So they were terrified that my blood pressure was very, very bad. And also while I was on that medication, didn't really do much for my blood pressure, which is really scary. And I think I had my appointment on June 2nd and they told me that they were going to start doing non-stress tests. So I had to do them every other day. So yeah, it was told to me to do every other day. And at my next appointment, they told me that I was going to be induced on June 10th. And that's the day that I picked because my husband's birthday is June 9th. And I didn't want to pick his birthday to be June 9th and like have them have the same birthday. But it had to be in the 37th week and that was like the last day of it. So I started doing my non-stress tests on a Monday, June 7th. I woke up feeling like terrible. And I had a non-stress test at 1 p.m. or I think it was 2:30, one of those times. And I wanted to go to the ER or to labor and delivery right then and there when I woke up. But this is the stupidest thing. I wanted to make a photo album book or a photo album case for my son that says Finnegan James Hastings and then has like 1 month or whatever. And I wanted to make it with my cricket. And I knew if I went to the labor and delivery, I would be leaving with a baby. So I decided to make it then because when else would I have to do it? That's a very stupid idea. Don't do that, but whatever. I went to my non-stress test and they sent me to labor and delivery. My blood pressure was insane and my amniotic fluid was super, super low, which was a big reason why I had to have the baby. So I got to labor and delivery at 4 p.m. on June 7th and they just had to check me in and everything like that. So I had just the blood pressure cuff and then I had an IV and then I had like those bands on my stomach to make sure baby was okay. So that was great and whatever, and I had the best nurse. She was so funny. I still remember her. She was great. So I got there June 7th and I got to eat my Chipotle and everything like that, and then I was given Cytotec at 7 p.m. Cytotec is like a pill that you dissolve in your mouth. It tastes like chalk, but it's fine. You like put it in your cheek and you let it dissolve, and then you can like swallow it with water or whatever, but you have to let it dissolve. Not sure why, but whatever. I was given my first dosage at 7 p.m. on the 7th, and then I think it was every 5 hours or every 4 hours, so whatever. Got that every 5 hours. And I got 5 dosages of that, and it did next to nothing. I don't know if it was because like the pill dissolving in my mouth, I wasn't letting it dissolve enough or anything like that. It just didn't do anything for me. And then they decided after 24 hours of already being there to give me Cervidil, which Cervidil and Cytotec are the same thing. Cytotec goes in your mouth and you can like have it dissolve. Cervidil goes in you and it's kind of like a tampon, and they leave that for 12 hours. So they inserted that on June 8th at 7 p.m. and that was great, whatever. And then they took out the Cervidil at 7 a.m. June 9th, and they thought I was at least dilated to ½ centimeter. And I just want to say that the person that inserted my Cervidil was also the guy that I didn't like at the beginning. So he kind of made me uneasy. And he also, I remember he said when he got there, he was like, oh, you've already been here for 24 hours. There's no way that this is not ending in a C-section. And that made me so upset. Because let me just take a little break from my story. I wanted a completely natural birth. I don't know if I wanted a natural birth because I wanted a natural birth, or I wanted a natural birth because I'm terrified of needles and I'm terrified of all those things. So, yeah, I wanted to have a natural birth. I wanted to experience my water breaking. I wanted all those things. And obviously you sometimes don't get what you want, and that's completely okay. But when he told me that, when I already didn't really love him as a doctor, he's a great doctor, let me say that, but I just didn't love him from my first experience, so it was kind of hard for me to like him. But continuing on to the actual day, he took out the Cervidil on June 9th at 7 a.m. and he thought I was at least dilated to ½ centimeter. Looking back, I feel like he said that because I was so exhausted and so tired of everything, because I was very pregnant. I was on a lot of medicine for my gestational hypertension. I was exhausted. That bed is just terrible. Labor and delivery beds are terrible. We need to do better. He said I was dilated to ½ centimeter, and he decided to start me on Pitocin at 9 a.m. And after 4 hours of Pitocin, they found out that I was completely closed. There was no dilation at all. I don't know if it went down in dilation, like I went to ½ centimeter and then it was like, no, we're not ready for this. But my favorite doctor, which is the doctor that I've had since I was like 16 or 17, when I first started going to like the OB. Well, I went to an OB before that, but I went to this OB. She was my doctor, and she decided after 4 hours of Pitocin, she was done with it, because I was already at like 40 or 20 milligrams of Pitocin. I don't even know how much you can get. I don't know if 20 is too much, but I remember the number 20, so I don't know if it's milligrams or whatever. But whatever. After 4 hours, she was like, we're not going to do this. We are going to take this out. You can eat. We're going to start Cervidil again. And I was exhausted. Looking back, I feel like it really wasn't that long, but it felt like an eternity, and it was so hard because like mentally, because I had wanted to go in, like have my water break and go in and be dilating and have my baby naturally. And even if I kept going with this medicine, I'd be exhausted. That there's no way that I would have been able to push. I was already exhausted because having high blood pressure makes it impossible to do literally anything. Let me just say that. I have never had high blood pressure I never want to have it again in my life. I don't know how to really make it happen for me to have that, but whatever I can do, I'm going to do it, because that was the most terrible thing. Hated it. So my sister-in-law came in and she was talking to me. My sister-in-law is also pregnant, so the fact that she was able to sit there and talk to me with all this stuff was great. And also when they decided to take out the Pitocin and start me on Cervidil again, which they gave me a little break to make my decision, she also suggested thinking about a C-section. And I broke down in tears. I was so distraught. I felt like such a failure for not being able to have my baby. And she also mentioned that if I didn't have low amniotic fluid, she would send me on my way home and let me get better. Like, even if my blood pressure was so bad because the baby was doing so well with that, she was gonna let me go if my amniotic fluid was fine. But my amniotic fluid was like next to nothing, so there was no way I was leaving, and that sucked. And even though it sucked to have high blood pressure and everything like that, I feel like my amniotic fluid being another thing, that just sucked. And yeah, so we just decided to take a little break and talk about it, and I got a shower. I talked to my sister-in-law, and we did like a pros and cons list, and my sister-in-law mentioned, because I was like, I'm not getting a C-section. I'm going back on Cervidil. I'm doing all these things. I don't care anymore. She was like, you're exhausted right now. How are you going to push out a baby? And I don't know if that helped me make my decision or if it made me realize, like, I can't do this. Like, I am having a baby because I want my baby. I want my baby the safest way that I can have my baby and everything like that. And it wasn't me being exhausted just because I was so stubborn to get a C-section. I don't know if that's a bad thing to say. I was definitely very stubborn to get a C-section. I didn't want a C-section. I didn't want any of that stuff because I didn't want to even have an epidural. I didn't want any of those things. I'm terrified of needles. I don't like any of that stuff. And I feel like the reason why I was like, I don't want a C-section was because I wanted to have my baby, and I thought C-sections were less than or whatever, or like it's the easy way out. Let me just say, it's not the easy way out. It's definitely not the easy way out. It's not the easy way out. It's not the easy way out. It's not. She was like, you're gonna be exhausted. Are you gonna be able to do that? The answer was no. I wasn't gonna be able to do it. I could barely walk to the toilet. I was so exhausted just from my blood pressure. It was terrible. I never want to feel like that again. And so we decided to ultimately go with a C-section. I actually typed this when I was there, so let me just read this. I felt completely defeated at this point and was crying a ton because of the thought of a C-section was terrifying, and then the thought of doing all of that stuff again after over 37 hours was exhausting. I also just didn't want to be in that bed again. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't want to sit down, and I couldn't really stand up because of my blood pressure, and it was terrible. I was in so much pain. And I decided that I was going to go ahead with the C-section despite being absolutely terrified, and we decided to bring my doctor because another reason why I didn't want a C-section is because we want a big family. And I have read so many times that you're not able to have a ton of kids when you have C-sections, and I decided that I needed to talk to my doctor because I needed to talk to my doctor about having more babies. And my doctor came in and she was like, okay, so you want to do the C-section, but you only want to do the C-section if we can talk about having future kids. And she was saying, she's like, I will get you as many kids as you want. Like, I will get you to physically have as many kids as you want. We just need to work together after this. And let me just say now that she was not bullshitting me. She even remembered me at my 6-week appointment. She was like, you're gonna have all your kids. I'm telling you right now, we are not giving up, and we have a plan, whatever. So it was just so reassuring at my 6-week appointment that she remembered me. I mean, I think her working with my sister-in-law is a big part of it, but whatever. She remembered me and remembered that I wanted a lot of kids, and it was very reassuring. And we had that conversation and it was great. Then I had to sign all the papers and everything, and like all the stuff for if something happened to me or something happened to the baby, which one would they save? And I said the baby. And yeah, so we walked back into the C-section. I walked, and I feel like it was the best walk of my life because I had barely walked anywhere out of that 4 walls. I mean, I didn't even leave that 4 walls for 3 days. So yeah, it was great. And I walked on the table, and Brendon had to stay in the outside room. I didn't know that until we walked there, and I instantly went into panic, but thank God my sister-in-law was with me, and she was able to hold my hands during the spinal tap and everything like that. So I had everybody holding my hands, my anesthesiologist, my sister-in-law, and my husband. And as soon as I heard his cry, Finnegan's, I calmed down. It was, I'm gonna cry. It was the most amazing sound I've ever heard. And I hope that I get to hear that sound again and again and again and again. Like the first cry. It made me realize that everything that I'd gone through was worth it. Like, it didn't matter at this point. Like, the first 37 hours or whatever were terrible, but it didn't matter. I didn't care. All I wanted was to hold my baby. And they had to take him and like do all the things, and my husband got to cut his umbilical cord and everything like that. And then they brought him over to me and they laid him on my chest, and it was great. It was great. All of it was worth it. And I would do the entire thing, probably 20 extra hours of nothing happening, nothing working, to just hear that sound again. It just felt surreal. Like nothing mattered at that point. Nothing went the way I wanted it to go, but I wouldn't change a single thing about my birth and about everything, because one, I feel like it made my husband and I's love even stronger. And the way I look at him now is like, he's such a great father and such an amazing husband, because he was there for me the entire time. He helped me so much. And then also postpartum, he helped me so much. And then also seeing him with my son, amazing. And then also I gained such an amazing relationship with my sister-in-law. And I don't know, it's just, I wouldn't take any of that stuff back, whatever happened and everything that happened to me. I had such an amazing support system with me. My doctors are amazing. My nurses were amazing. Everybody was like substantially amazing. And even the guy I didn't love, he was a great doctor. He was amazing. Everybody was great. I wouldn't trade my entire experience for the world. Although I don't want to have high blood pressure again. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna do everything to not have it. But if it does happen, I just need to remember that I will hear that cry again. And that's all gonna be worth it. But that's my birth story, and I hope that one day I get to tell another birth story. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.